Hello, and welcome to my media journal. I decided to do a video format for a couple of reasons. The easiest way for you to navigate this project is that every single day in this video is going to be between transition screens. They're going to be black with white text on them, telling you what day it is out of these 10 days. This project was a 10-day project that spanned from the 15th of September until the 25th, with a bonus day at the end. Just a few days ago to maybe like a week before was the Met Gala. And I wanted to check out the opinion of my favorite fashion YouTuber, Luke Moore, who's also known as Haute La Mode. He's very experienced with fashion and reviews fashion shows and releases pretty often, and he was able to accurately assess whether an attendee was dressed in compliance with the theme or not. Then I watched a video from Mr. Gigi's second channel, Mr. Gigi Live, where he uploads his Twitch streams in case any of his fans miss them. Mr. Gigi plays video games on Twitch, as well as doing content reviews from other creators or from films on his main channel, Mr. Gigi. I listened to Spotify, the playlist Maddie B's Likes, which are my partner's likes. He's not the real Maddie B, his name is Matthew, and his last name starts with a B, which is fairly close enough. This is the playlist I currently exclusively listen to. I got tired of my playlist, Let's F***ing Drive. 2 exclamation points, and yes, the swear is in there as a title. So I asked for his, which have a lot of artists I love listening to, but only really hear when I'm with him, like MGMT, Snail Mail, and his brother's friend's brand, Kindred Hollow. My Spotify repeat, which is the playlist consisting of all of the songs that I constantly let play through themselves, is entirely songs from this playlist. This is what I listen to anytime I'm driving, whether that's from home to the store, from home to school, school to work, home to work, so on and so forth. I got home from class and I watched Noah Miller's pre-recorded channel, which is named after himself. This is a trend with a lot of people that I watch where they'll have a main channel and then a channel to upload past live streams. He did a tier list of people who look like him according to his fans, and I watched a few other videos, including one with his fiance, where they reacted to TikToks that were quote out of pocket, or something that shouldn't be funny but is funny because of how uncomfortable it makes you or the people in the TikTok. I also watched Bionic Pig react to a video on his second channel, Bionic Pig Live, who either reacts or plays video games on that channel and reviews content on his main. I watched a guy called Mr. Bullen, who is essentially a storyteller. He tells stories that are true crime, crazy deaths, missing persons, or they're entirely fictional stories that have a very convincing spin to them. He has a very good stage presence, and for all of these stories, they'll have some sort of photo accompaniment, whether that's real photos of the people involved, or photos that try to help the fictional story along. I watched Drew Gooden for a long time after that. He does a lot of content reviews, and his sense of humor really resonated with my stepsister and I. I think we watched at least 10 videos of his before I went upstairs and split off from her. Once I did split off her bed, I watched a John Wolfe video where he played through Granny 3. John Wolfe is a video game Let's Player, meaning that he plays through video games and records his reactions to those video games and uploads them on his channel, as well as uploading his actual live streams from Twitch onto his channel as well. Unlike the other people that I've talked about, he actually just has his one channel. Just before bed, I read a story about an SCP, which is essentially a creature that gets studied by scientists, and strange phenomena occurs around it, usually because of it. There are hundreds of SCPs that exist in the SCP universe. This one happens to be my favorite. All day, I used Tumblr, Facebook, and Instagram intermittently, especially while I was at school, as I have about 2 hours to spare between my classes Monday, Wednesday. Because of how often I use these social medias, I'm not really going to go into detail about using them, also to keep a lot of the users that I follow private, because on many of these platforms, they aren't necessarily interested in having a public eye on them. I watch a lot of the same people during these days. I started off with Mr. Craven playing through some horror games. He's a lot like John Wolfe, which makes sense because they're friends. I don't know that he live streams, I haven't seen any personally, so I was watching his pre-recorded stuff. I watched more Drew Gooden and Mr. Gigi. I also watched some CinemaSins, which is a channel devoted to nitpicking movies and assigning them sin counts. I usually watch maybe 10 or more while I clean my room, since it's good background stuff when you've seen the films that Jeremy is talking about. I use Tumblr and Facebook and Instagram throughout the day again. This is going to happen every day. At the end of the night, I discovered a new channel called Highboy, who does reviews titled X Movie Explained by an Idiot. I watched a lot of these as well. On day 3, my sister took me to get COVID tested for work, so... oh wait, I was supposed to cut that off. On day 3, my sister took me to get COVID tested in Atlanta for work, so because I wasn't driving, we were listening to her playlist. It's a pretty interesting mix of rappers like Black Bear or Eminem, and then a lot of sad heartbreak and angst songs. When we got back, I played some Tony Hawk Project 8 on my PS3, and I mildly busted the game with some glitches, but I ended up fixing it, so it was okay. We had 5 family members come over extra for the weekend, so my brother, who's 13, and 2 of our cousins, 15 and 12, asked me to watch *Malignant* with them, which is a horror movie that came out a couple of weeks ago. I highly recommend it if you're a fan of the genre. After that, they all fell asleep, and I turned on Shark Tank, which I watched with my uncle. We stayed up until 6:30 in the morning watching these episodes, whoops, and then I went to bed. It's the same old with social media today, but I also used Twitter that day. Day 4, I played Animal Crossing after I got up around 11 in the morning. My other aunt and my uncle came over, who were the 15-year-old cousin's parents. They put on E.T. for a few minutes, and then I went with my 2 aunts to some estate sales. When I got back, Metal Shop Masters, a welding competition show, was on. They also put on the Alabama-Florida game, but I was too busy watching Lego Batman to really notice after a couple of minutes to check on them. After some time in a shower and finishing my Lego Batman movie, my 2 cousins, the 12 and 15-year-old ones, asked me to rent them Jennifer's Body through Amazon Prime and to watch it with them, so I watched about half of the movie before feeling sleepy and going to bed. I pretty much only used Tumblr that day, minus about 10 minutes on Facebook checking something for work. Day 5, my youngest cousin Sam, who's 2, was watching Mickey's Road Racers when I woke up. It's a sort of animated show with the Mickey Mouse Clubhouse gang, but racing. Fairly straightforward. I got in the car with my uncle and his daughter, the 12-year-old, my brother, and our other cousin, the 15-year-old, to go to the gas station, and we listened to 97.1 The River on the way there, which is a classic rock station. When we got back, my aunt and my mom and grandma were watching Days of Our Lives, which I'm pretty sure is a soap opera, but the clip that you're watching right now is from it, and I have no idea what's going on. The kids were begging me to take them to the Mall of Georgia, so I relented. Really, they just wanted to go to the Spirit Halloween that had kind of molded itself into the dead UFIT gym that's there. We listened to Spotify on the way to the mall and then on the way back, and the Spirit Halloween obviously was playing music. They played like Thriller, YMCA, and then I think The Weeknd, which I don't know if that really makes sense for Halloween, but it's cool. I caught a few minutes of the Emmys before I went to bed. I didn't really use YouTube that day, which is shocking because that's where I get about 90% of the media I consume. Tumblr was pretty much being used throughout the whole day. I don't think I got on Facebook any besides to check my mom's status where she tagged me in some photos. That sums up day 5. Day 6, I drove to Atlanta to get another COVID test for work, and I listened to my usual Spotify playlist. Our 4 family members from South Carolina went back home, and I watched A Cinderella Story with my mom, my 15-year-old cousin, my brother, and his 3 friends who were all siblings. I played more Project 8 and watched more Mr. Gigi, and then Nick DeRamio, who is a former NYU film student who critiques movies and shows and gives suggestions on what could have been done better. And the same old with my social media usage, just Instagram, Facebook, and Tumblr again. Already a week in. I watched Elvis the Alien, a content reviewer, and a friend of Bionic Pigs. I watched more Drew Gooden and then Kelsey Kreppel and Cody Ko, who are a couple that have separate channels but often vlog or react to content together. They're also really good friends with Noel Miller, who I mentioned in my earlier sections of this project. I also watched some Corridor Crew, which is a digital effects house based in California. They do a lot of react videos, as well as create their own short films to showcase their skills as artists. Today was very special as it was also my work day. I was called in at 6:30 p.m. to rapid test and then work on set of HBO's The Staircase. I can't tell you anything about the scene I did, but since I wore all my own clothes, I can show you what wardrobe approved me to be in for it. And yes, those are my own clothes. Day 8, I watched more Bionic Pig and Noel Miller, and then about 4 episodes of House of Cards. The rest of the day I spent either sleeping or in our media class since I had that late night before. I listened to Spotify to get to and from class and was on Tumblr and Instagram throughout the day. No Facebook this time. Day 9, I watched a Jarvis Johnson video. He's a content reactor and covered the new trend of devious licks, where kids are stealing stuff from their school and putting it on TikTok for clout. My brother corroborated this, as did my mom, who got an email about it from his principal warning parents about their kids coming home with bathroom sinks, mirrors, and clocks. It's weird. I watched Nick DeRamio again and another Mr. Gigi video before I took my grandma back to Buford, who had been staying with us while our family was visiting from South Carolina. She doesn't have her own car, so someone had to give her a ride back. We listened to my Spotify as we spent the day together, and I was able to pick up another Guitar Hero Kramer guitar for the PlayStation 2, so I celebrated my score by playing Guitar Hero 3 with my brother, my sister, my mom, and my stepsister. I shared my day with my grandma on my Snapchat, and I was on Tumblr all day throughout. I watched a lot of my usuals: Noel Miller, Cody Ko, Kelsey Kreppel, and CinemaSins. I listened to Maddie B's Likes on Spotify, and then after class I drove down to Athens that evening to go see my partner, Maddie B, for the weekend. I downloaded a third copy of Stardew Valley, this time onto my Switch, so that we could play the co-op together. I already owned it on the PlayStation 4 and my computer, but I didn't have my computer with me because it weighs way too much, and he doesn't have a TV or a PS4, so Switch was a good middle ground. Stardew Valley is a farming RPG with monster hunting, mining, romance, adventure, and of course, agriculture. I was on Tumblr and Instagram mostly that day, with just a hint of Twitter. For Lil Nas X, of course. The final day. We had some business to attend to back up in Gainesville, so Matthew drove us from Athens back home, and we listened to his playlist from Spotify on the way there and back. It's pretty much the same stuff that I listened to, plus or minus a couple of songs that didn't make it into mine because he's since updated his likes after sending it to me. He showed me a few chess videos on YouTube when we got back, and then some videos from the game Team Fortress 2, which is a team shoot 'em up essentially that he and pretty much every other of our mutual friends play together. We played a couple of hours of Stardew Valley that evening, and as usual, I was on Tumblr all day long, and then Instagram for about 10 minutes total since we took a day trip from Athens back to Gainesville. All in all, same old, same old. In conclusion, I think that this project taught me a lot about what I consume, and that almost all of my consumption is based off of YouTube or Tumblr. I think that if you were to walk into my house on any given day, at any given hour, between, say, 9 a.m. and 3 a.m., I'm most likely watching YouTube, which is fine. I think that that's something that I just am much more aware of now that we've gone through this project and I've had to document everything. I do think that creating this journal and just writing things down was a little bit difficult for me. There were a couple of times where I would read back my notes from those days and I would be confused writing the script, thinking that maybe I missed something or I put the wrong media in the wrong day for some reason. But all in all, it was very fun to do and I enjoyed making it. I think it made me realize that I also really only spend time with consuming. If there's another thing that this project made me realize, it's that I really only spend time consuming media with family when it's a special occasion and other family members have come over for something. But all in all, I enjoyed my project and I hope you enjoyed watching it.